So when I was around 7 years old, I went on a sketching excursion with a bunch of other kids. We were brought to a park with swings and seesaws and I don't know, merry-go-rounds. And we were just asked to just sit around and just draw the park for about 1 hour. So I looked around and I saw a swing. It was a blue color swing. So blue was my favorite color, so I decided to just draw the swing. I was drawing with a pencil and I kept on drawing and erasing and then drawing, erasing. I'll draw the side which looks like a letter A and I'll draw the frame, and then when I got to the other side or where I draw the seats, I found out that hey, it doesn't match the rest of the picture. Like something was always wrong as I tried to finish drawing the swing. So I ended up taking 1 whole hour and I didn't even finish the drawing. In fact, I just colored it very roughly because I was just rushing when they said pack up and let's go. At that time I was already drawing spaceships and spacemen, and I thought I could draw very well because my mom always said that, wow, your drawing looks amazing. So how come I couldn't draw this simple swing accurately? It was a few decades later where I heard people say that there are two sides of our brain. Have you heard that? The left brain is more logical and the right brain is more visual. Now, I'm not a brain scientist, I'm an artist, so I'm not sure whether that's fully true. But I noticed that if I were to look at a table and think of it logically, I would say that the table has a perfectly rectangular top. It has 4 legs of equal lengths and all the legs are parallel. But if I were to say what my eye sees and think of it visually, I would say that the tabletop has kind of a distorted diamond shape, has legs of unequal lengths, some long and some short, and all the legs are not parallel. And the funny thing is that both these views are absolutely right. So these two ways of thinking are like two voices in my head. So let's just call it the logic voice and the visual voice. So if I were drawing a person with these two voices talking to me at the same time, it might play out something like this. Let's draw the border first. Something like that. And then, okay, it's like the head. Logically a head would look like this, right? Like this. So I'll probably try to draw a head like this. And most people would actually be looking at the paper, so they wouldn't be looking at the scene. So that's another point, that if you just look at the paper and draw, you start to draw logically, and therefore there's the head there. And then of course when you come to the nose, we think the nose would be something like, have it kind of like this, right? So thinking, okay, the nose, and we look at, and so if I look at the paper, it will be like, okay, the nose. And then, okay, there's a face, and a face would be, I guess, like that. Okay, and then there would be 2 eyes on the face, right? A face usually has 2 eyes. So I'll probably try to draw 2 eyes. Well, actually, it's not too bad. I'm trying my best to draw logically because after some time of identifying shapes, it can be a bit hard. So the next thing is, okay, let's draw the mouth, and the mouth would have to be like this. And then beard would be, because okay, just dots and everything. And wait, there needs to be an ear. I don't see an ear, so it probably has to have an ear there. And there is a shirt. Now I know that shirts are usually drawn like this, right? This is how logically a shirt would look like. So I'll end up drawing a shirt like this, like this. Next, the hand. Okay, there's a hand and it goes out. Okay, so I guess it can go out there. The other hand, well, a hand usually has 5 fingers, right? So, but the thing is, visually, I don't see 5 fingers, but kind of, if I were to listen to the logic voice and the visual voice, I'll kind of force it in. So I'll just draw the 5 fingers there. And then there's pants. Pants usually look like this, right? Pants. So I'll just end up drawing, I might end up drawing the pants like this. And what about legs? Legs look like this, right? They look like this. So okay, I know the legs look short visually, but logically the legs should look like this. I don't know why it looks like that, but let's just say it looks like this. And what about the bags? Bags are usually like this and with two straps, right? So I guess we'll do one strap here. Okay, a strap here, and then a strap. Wait, visually, it's just a little bump there, but I want to see a whole bag, and I drew the shirt like this already, so okay, I'll just draw the bag like this. Okay, and then the watch, and let's just add in some details to make it as cool as possible. And that's how you would end up with an illustration with a pretty cute style, but it wouldn't be accurate to what you see at all. Okay, so if I were to be drawing a table and both voices will be talking to me at the same time, probably sound like this. The logic voice will say, okay, the visual voice will say, okay, let's do a slant here, and then the logic voice would say, no, it's a rectangle, so we should do it this way. And the visual voice will say, no, it's just going this way. And it's like, yeah, okay, let's go this way. And then the logic voice will say, yeah, it's a rectangle, so you just draw a rectangle. And therefore, and then the sides, there's this corner side, right? And the corner side, the logic voice would say it's a rectangle too, so rectangle, right? So let's draw a rectangle here. And then what about this side? Okay, let's just make it should be a rectangle too, the logic would say. So it would be like, okay, let's just join it here. And the visual voice would say, okay, let's make all the legs, just follow the legs how you see it, one long, one short. But then the logic voice would say, okay, let's just make this leg straight. And then how about the other leg? The logic voice would say, no, they're all kind of equal length, so it should just end up like this, right? Because the table should look like this. And what about this part here? I mean, the visual voice would say, okay, it should come down and should have a pointy thing at the bottom. But the logic side will say, no, but it should be a rectangle. I mean, it should be kind of like a rectangle side. Oh yeah, but there's an additional side here, right? So yeah, it should be a rectangle side too, like this. And how about this? Well, okay, maybe it should be, well, they're kind of parallel, so okay, so end up something like this. I asked my daughter Ollie to help me draw the same table from the same angle and as accurately as possible. And this is how she drew it on the iPad. And as you can see, like how we all draw when we were kids, we listen to both the visual voice and the logic voice, and it comes out with this funny, wonky, cute little style. So if you are now grown up and you can draw very well and you want to draw like a little kid again, listen to both the logic and the visual voice at the same time. But whether you're young or old and you want to draw what you see and draw it accurately, and if you find that you can't, the problem is not that you can't think visually. The problem is that you're listening to both the logic and the visual voice at the same time. So how do we silence the logic voice so that we can just listen to the visual voice in our head? So one way that people do it is they turn the picture that they're looking at upside down. Of course, you can't do that with an outdoor scene, but with a photograph you can. And so it would be like this. Somehow when the picture is turned upside down, it's a lot harder for the logic voice to tell me where to go, because it's like I can't really identify what the object is. So therefore my visual voice would just say, okay, just follow what I tell you to do. And you could try this, you'll find it that you can probably draw this table more accurately. So another way is blind contour drawing, where you get a pencil, you poke it through a paper. So you use the paper to prevent yourself from seeing what you're drawing. And another rule is that you cannot lift your pen or pencil from the paper as you draw, so you have to draw in one continuous line. I think this exercise is great. It trains us to pay more attention to the visual voice in our head, and it does silence the logic voice pretty well. The only thing is that the drawing usually ends up in a kind of a wonky, funny mess. Now, if you were to study closely how Ollie and I were drawing the table, you would notice one thing in common. We were breaking the table into parts and drawing the parts one at a time. And I think that's when the logic voice speaks the loudest. But I find that if I first combine all the parts of this figure and draw it as one big shape, like a silhouette, and only break it up into smaller shapes later, it's harder for my logic voice to tell me what each part should look like. And I can just listen to the visual voice give me instructions, so I end up drawing more accurately. So here are 3 ways that will help you silence the logic voice. You could practice upside down drawing, you could do blind contour drawing, and lastly you could combine all the details and objects you see into big shapes first and then breaking it up into small shapes. But do keep in mind to keep your eyes glued to the scene and not glued to the paper. That will help you draw more accurately. I hope that was helpful, and happy drawing!